Welcome to the Stop Faking Fine podcast, a show that will empower you to finally show up for yourself. While your circumstances may not be 100% your fault, your life is 100% your responsibility. It's time to stop faking fine. Welcome back to the Stop Faking Fine podcast. I am your host and widow friend, Dana Lewis. I've recently celebrated my first anniversary with the second love of my life. Since we're friends, you know that my first husband died in a very quick battle with kidney cancer in 2013. We recognized that he had stage 4 cancer in July, and on August 31st, he took his last breath. At that time, our boys were 6, 8, and 10. Over the course of the past year or so, I got engaged, was married, purchased a together house with my new husband, listed my old home with my first husband, sold that old home, had that sale fall through, had to list it again, sell it again, move, grieve the loss of my first husband and old life all over again, only to recognize as we were unpacking our boxes in this new chapter 2 forever home that this house had radon. Looking back and recognizing the struggle in each one of these moments, I thought I would dedicate an episode to unpacking 3 habits for creating stress resilience. Are you ready? Let's dive on in. 1 year ago, I married the second love of my life, which makes me smile and also makes my heart skip a beat all at the same time. I never intended to be here. I intended to be married once, and well, as the saying goes, until death do us part. I never really thought that that would happen at age 40, but it did. And given I do not have the power to raise a man from the grave, here we are. And I'm proud of myself for being here. I continue every single day to put one foot in front of the other to move forward and grow to write this next chapter. And if you're listening right now and thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, yes, me too. For whatever reason you are starting your next chapter, I see you and I applaud you showing up for you every single day. Neil and I are blending a family and desperately trying to create a new normal for all of our boys. Have I mentioned that we have 5 teenage boys between the two of us? Yeah. That's a podcast for another day. But we have just recently purchased a new home, an us home. And as if starting the next chapter and moving and selling a home, not once, but twice, working through the grief all over again, as if that wasn't hard enough. Over this past year, I have felt like every time I turned around, my stress resilience was being tested. I had to decide over and over again, who am I going to choose to be in the face of this next problem? Here's the thing. Neil and I shared a little bit about where we were when we got engaged and before we got married. In episode 29, I've linked that in the show notes for you. But as we moved into this new home together, after all the boxes were not only packed, but moved into our new place, into this chapter 2, let's make this an amazing home, we found out that our home had radon. And within moments, we were getting the radon exhaust system installed, and I was kissing my bathroom renovation budget goodbye. As my heart sunk, I thought to myself, really, God? This is what you have for me right now? I started this podcast to unpack all the ways that we fake fine. Faking fine starts with the littlest of decisions. Understanding that I know I've been the queen of this movement. As I sat in the basement of this beautiful new home that we were going to build this beautiful new next chapter life together, I watched a man install a radon system and I did some digging mentally. I talk about faking fine and my first epiphany of this in episode 11, where I shared more about having a dog that I did not have the mental space for. But here I was again, probably not ready to move out of my old house. And if I'm being honest, I probably never would have been. There's a lot more to unpack there, so stay tuned for more on that in an episode to come. But I have the awareness about myself to recognize that sometimes I need a little pushing. Not forcing, but kind encouragement. And if you're listening and you know this is you too, I hope you can appreciate this. I was nervous, so nervous, but also so excited to build this next chapter. The housing market in 2023 was bananas. So in order to get the house we wanted, we had to forego most of the desired inspections and just go for it. It was exhilarating in the moment until we realized there was radon. You're probably wondering, what does this have to do with anything? Well, I'm here to share that it's an example of how to help you deal with everything. And what I mean by that is that over the years, in my journey from anxious, overwhelmed, grieving widow to the place where I can lead and empower you on your stress resilience, I've developed a set of specific habits that will help you keep your resilience muscle strong. And the thing about habits is that once you learn to master them, you'll perform them without thinking about it. Because as you develop that resilience muscle, they shift from a habit to just a way of living. Let's break down 3 habits that you can implement in the crazy situations to keep you from having the breakdown in the midst of your beautiful life. Number 1, mental habits. There are 3 things that I want to unpack around mental habits. The first one is being self-aware. Be mindful. When you're at a 20 on a scale of 10 for anxiety, take a moment to just recognize it. I would love to say meditate, but that's laughable because when your cortisol is off the charts, let's be honest, meditating is unrealistic. But being aware that you are at a 20 and taking a moment to just recognize it is so important. In this moment, the best thing you can do for yourself is to recognize that you're having a moment rather than faking it, stuffing it down, and telling yourself that it's fine. It's not fine. Take a mental note of how you got there. The second mental habit that you can embrace is learning. Rather than being self-critical, which by the way is the easier way to go, look for the glimmer of something that you can learn instead of criticizing yourself for being there in the first place. We are so wired to be self-critical and to self-shame. But here's the thing, that raises your cortisol hormone, keeps you stuck, and keeps you on the crazy cortisol roller coaster. You have to allow yourself the gift of exiting that mindset. Embrace learning. Look for the glimmer of something that you can learn in the midst of this chaos rather than criticizing yourself for it. The third thing for your mental habits, the third mental habit, is to practice positive thinking in the midst of your negative situation. Literally say to yourself, I can deal with this. I am a solution seeker. I will find a solution to the radon in my home, and we will live a beautiful life here. Saying one positive thing to yourself in the midst of a negative situation lowers cortisol. It lowers the anxiety and overwhelm that comes along with that cortisol and takes you off the cortisol roller coaster. All right, number 2, emotional habits. I've got 3 emotional habits as well. Number 1, take a breath. Really, that's it. Take a breath. Take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. This truly does help calm your nerves. If in the midst of chaos, you can take a moment to take a breath, you will lower the overwhelm and allow your brain to step in and help yourself think through the solution. Number 2, emotional habit, focus on gratitude. Look for a way to flip the script. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I have to deal with this again. Instead, you can say, I am so glad that our new home is going to be safe. I am so thankful that I have a husband that is helping me find the right radon company to fix this problem. I am so grateful that I have the opportunity to fix this problem before we live here. Gratitude not only lowers cortisol, but it truly does help to minimize your frustration. And again, taking a moment to be grateful is harder than staying mad. Staying mad is easier, but it will keep you stuck and it will make you fake fine. The third emotional habit that you can embrace is to forgive yourself. Listen, we all make mistakes. Kicking yourself over and over for what you should have done, shoulda, woulda, coulda, does not help your current situations. These are moments where self-talk, what you are saying to yourself, truly matters. Forgive yourself and tell yourself that you can make it better, right? 3 emotional habits. Number 1, take a breath. Number 2, focus on gratitude. Number 3, forgive yourself. And the third habit to embrace are physical habits. Before I even knew that this was a thing, when my first husband, and oh my gosh, do I hate saying that. He will always be my husband, but now I have a second husband, so I have to refer to Jason as my first husband. Anyhow, one of the things that I love most about him is that he would recognize when I was panicking, when I was derailing, and he would always say, Dana, go for a run. We'll talk about this when you get back. He didn't understand the science. This was 20 years ago, but he understood the result. At the time, our kids were babies, 1, 3, 4, 5. I would come back from a run more rational, ready to have a conversation rather than spinning and spiraling. You guys, that physical exercise, endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, GABA, your calming neurotransmitter, they all fire up when you move your body. I am a record on repeat talking about the power of walking. Even if you just walk to your mailbox, if you find yourself frustrated in a situation in your home, go out to the mailbox, get the mail, go to the mailbox. Even if you've already done it once today, go again and check. Maybe there's a new surprise in there for you. I don't know. Walk to the mailbox. Your stress hormone will thank you for it. And the other thing about physical habits is that a lot of times when your cortisol is high, you crave the fatty foods, the chips, the carbs. And that's not your fault. That's science. When cortisol rises, often hunger signals are close by. But here's the thing. You're probably not even hungry. Your body is looking for a coping mechanism to help regulate your emotions. And I am sharing this with you as a gift for you to take. If you try walking in that situation, it will change your life and your pant size. And again, I'm not suggesting that you go out for an hour walk at this moment in time. When your cortisol is high, the stress is high, walk to the mailbox. Walk a block. Take 5 minutes to just reset your brain, get a little endorphin rush, get a little serotonin going, the dopamine, the norepinephrine, and GABA. That's really key. That's your calming neurotransmitter. You will be able to think so much clearer after you move your body. I started this episode sharing my enthusiasm over having radon. And let's be honest, there's no enthusiasm there. But I want to end by sharing that we found the best company in our area that could do the test, install the system, and take the radon gas from 10 to 0 every second of every day, so we are left with nothing to worry about. Isn't it also interesting that after you experience something like radon, or whatever your last panic was about, you start to notice the tens of hundreds of friends that also have radon exhaust systems in their homes? In August of 2013, I felt like I was the only youthful widow left to raise young children solo. 10 years later, it seems like everywhere I turn, there is another widow in a similar situation, desperately wondering how she got there. In the end, it makes me recognize the importance of stress resilience. When my husband died, I didn't know what stress resilience was, and I certainly didn't know where to go to get it. Stress resilience stems from the gut. It's my mission to continue to find tips, tools, and strategies, not only to improve my stress resilience, but to invite you to find yours. Stress resilience is something that you really don't understand until you have it. If after Jason died, you had asked if I had stress resilience, I would have laughed. When you lack stress resilience, you have things like anxiety, depression, panic attacks. You feel puffy, bloated, you don't sleep. I was 100% in this place for the first few years after Jason died. Then I learned about the gut-brain connection and the power of the gut microbiome and the power of strain-specific probiotics for mental well-being. I started on a supplement protocol, and then I realized very quickly that I was showing up differently. The best part about it is that my kids, my sweet boys, recognized that I was showing up differently, and our home vibe changed. Oh my gosh. I had found stress resilience, and I grew. Strain-specific probiotics for the win. Strain-specific probiotics to create the resilience foundation in your gut. And then adding the mental, the emotional, and the physical habits to help you build that stress resilience muscle. The mental resilience to be self-aware, to embrace learning, to practice positive thinking. The emotional habits to take a breath, to focus on gratitude, to forgive yourself, and the physical habits of movement. Because just like a physical muscle, it's all about the reps. The more reps you get in, the better looking muscles you'll have. Adding the mental, emotional, and physical habits to help build that stress resilience muscle on top of the foundation of supporting your gut is the recipe for stress resilience success. If you want to learn more about the probiotics that changed my stress trajectory, you can go to danalewis.com/supplements. In the meantime, I am cheering you on. I am rooting you on, and I'm here to partner with you as you grow into your best and most resilient version of yourself. Because the world needs the best version of you, and you need to be resilient in the face of stress in order to show up as her. Your gut is the ninja waiting to help you. If you want to learn more about my strain-specific protocol and the protocol that will change your life, it's literally named Happy Juice. Again, you can go to danalewis.com/supplements and save $10 on my favorite gut healthy protocol to help you have the resilience that you desire, but that you also deserve. Until next time, your circumstances are probably not your fault, but your life is 100% your responsibility. I love you, and I mean it. Remember to show up for yourself unapologetically, because while your circumstances may not be 100% your fault, your life is 100% your responsibility. I cannot wait to see you soar.